last week we worked on my son's room. His room is big, so we are going to take up some of the square footage in a functional way with bookshelves. I love reading. I want to pass that on to him, and also there'll be room to store his toys in like a really cute, fun way. So we're working on that. In the middle of the bookshelves, there's a space for a fireplace, and last week we made the awesome Delft inspired tiles. So this week we need to finish building the fireplace, put those tiles in, grout them, and hopefully by the end of the week we can have a finished fireplace. It's a short week. We had Monday off, so let's bust through this and see what magic we can make. Here is the before of the wall in my son's room before building the fireplace and the shelves. His bed used to be right next to it. I have a whole plan for this room with lots of DIYs, and that includes like a built-in bed, a DIY desk, a DIY dresser, and so here's where the room is right now. It's a little messy, but you can see it's a really cute room, but we're going to work a little bit more on it. So here's a sketch of what I wanted for the fireplace, those tiles I did. I actually ended up simplifying it a little bit so that there was nothing on the side, so that's my idea. So the first thing we did was build a support. This is for the bookcases, but it'll also support the fireplace as well. You can also see on this wall we have 2 outlets, which is great because this room has hardly any outlets. One is going to go above the fireplace. That's where we'll plug the fireplace in, and then we'll have another outlet for other things in this room since it's an old house with very few outlets. Since our fireplace is going between built-ins, we built those first. We're using IKEA bookcases for the bookshelves, and those come in limited sizes, so the bookcases needed to be put in place first. The great thing about doing an electric fireplace DIY is that the dimensions can be tweaked. And no, I'll have a separate tutorial for the bookcases when they're complete next week. The first thing we're going to do for this fireplace build is frame it out. For all of the framing, we're using these 2x4s, which are affordable again, which is nice. We started out by putting the fireplace on the 6-inch high base we built for the bookcases, and we cut another 2x6 for the front of that so it's nice and sturdy. The beginning of the framing is super easy because it's putting one 2x4 on either side of the fireplace. You can also see my husband doing an extra step. He's routing in a little groove so that the fireplace can sit flush with that wood. Another 2x4 goes on top of the fireplace, and then we're going to build the outside framing. So the dimensions will depend on the height and width of the desired finished fireplace. Our 2x4s are 37¼ inches high, and the top piece is 26 inches wide. We're going to put the fireplace in where it goes, and on the front of it, it has some screws, so you can actually screw the fireplace to the 2x4 supports that we've built. Next, we're going to screw the top piece of the outside framing in place, and then you can also see we have a 26-inch wide piece that goes on top of the fireplace, and that will help keep the whole frame square. And on either side, we added vents so that the fireplace has lots of places to vent to. The structure of the frame is mostly complete now, and you can kind of see how the fireplace just sits on the front, and then it has some space in the back, and the cord goes in there so you can plug it in. We also added an extra piece of framing to support the tile that we'll be doing, but right now what we're doing is part of the pretty part, which is gluing on the corbels. So this is exciting because it goes from being a frame to starting to look really good really quick. Once those are in, Preston cut a common board to measure 8 inches high and 21¾ inches wide, and this is the height of the corbels and the width of the opening between them, and he's nailing those in place. We also cut plywood facing for the front of the fireplace. The first piece is 18 inches wide by 5½ inches tall. We also cut plywood facing for the sides of the fireplaces. The side pieces are 5½ inches wide and 25¼ inches tall. And note, this plywood facing is what will be tiled, so this is a good time to look at the tile and the edging you want to use, as that needs to exactly work on this size of wood. Nail that plywood facing in place, and this is exciting because it's starting to look like a real fireplace. Glue and nail the onlay onto the center of the wood between the corbels. In the description on this video, I will link all of the sources we use, and this was $4, so that's pretty nice. And now it's time to tile. So the first thing we did was figure out our tile plan so that we could have the exact perfect spacing for what we just built on the fireplace. With tile, it has a rough edge, so we're using this metal tile edging so you don't see that. The best way we found to cut it was with the chop saw. We just use a table saw blade, but it does kind of ruin the blade, but you get a very precise cut, which we really like. To attach the tile edging to the wood that we just cut, I'm using a product called Muscle Bound instead of using cement board and mud. This is a cleaner way to tile and easier for a beginner DIYer. So you just cut some pieces of the Muscle Bound with scissors and attach those to the schluter, which is the tile edge that we're using. Once the tile edge is up, then you're going to cut more of the Muscle Bound and add that to the open spacing between the metal edging. To cut the Muscle Bound, again, you just measure what you need and cut it with scissors. It's so easy. Use a tile float to push the Muscle Bound against the backer board to ensure it's stuck on really well. Cut any tiles that need to be cut. We only had a few that needed to. Because the tile saw is wet, it's important to let the tiles dry thoroughly before putting them on the Muscle Bound. Wet tiles will not adhere even if they're slightly wet. To speed up the drying process, you can use a heat gun or a blow dryer on the back of the tile. Next, peel back the protective paper on the Muscle Bound to reveal the sticky surface when you're ready to tile. Place the tile on the Muscle Bound exactly where you want them. If needed, use tile spacers. They provide some with the Muscle Bound, and because the tiles stay where they're placed, you can add a spacer, put the next tile in, and then pull out that spacer and use it in the new spot. Tile one section at a time to keep the adhesive clean. Continue tiling all across the fireplace surround. One of the best benefits of using the Muscle Bound tile adhesive is you can immediately grout. With using mud, that needs to typically set for 24 hours. After everything was tiled, I mixed up some white grout and added in all the gaps and spaces to finish up the tiling. Now it's just time to do the finish work. Starting off, I painted everything in this color. It's Frosted Sage by Bear. I think it's a really lovely color, and it's what all the rest of the trim in here is. We also added trim to the sides of the fireplace. Without that, you could see the side of the piece of plywood, so this trim really finishes off nicely. It's 37¼ inch tall, which is the same height as the fireplace. We also cut a piece of wood for the ledge across the top of the mantle. This piece measures 32 inches long by 7½ inches wide. You use a nail gun to attach this board to the top of the mantle. Then I did some finish work so that I could get it painted the same color as the rest of the fireplace, which I think is looking very nice. Okay, we finished the fireplace. The rest of the bookcases still have some trim, so come back next week. We are going to finish those up, and I will show you the whole process if you want to know how to do the built-ins. I hope you liked seeing how we did the whole fireplace. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so you can see more videos just like this. I am so thrilled with how the fireplace turned out. It's really sweet, and I think it'll be really nice to have for this room as my son grows up in it. It was really fun to use the tile I made last week. I think it looks really great in place. It's the whimsical soft touch that I had in mind. I am really happy with how this came together. My son chose that cat art above the fireplace because cats are his favorite right now. And I'm just really excited that this section is done, and soon the whole thing will be done and I can fill in books everywhere, which will be very nice, and just finishing it will just feel really good. But look how good the fire looks. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I really hope you guys liked seeing how this fireplace came together. Did you notice above the fireplace this art is actually hidden storage? This is a kid's room, so I think it's so fun. Let me show you. It's not completely finished yet, but pretty cool, right?